Things that every doctor and medical professional should know about the real estate market that most real estate professionals don't even understand. The first is that economic recessions are deflationary by nature, and that means that mortgage rates go down. The second is that recessions shouldn't be something to be feared of. They're actually positive for real estate values in most instances. And this is super contrary to popular belief because we're all anchored into recency bias with what happened in the Great Recession. But let me show you the data behind those two surprising facts. The first thing you'll see here on the screen is a graph from 1971 through the end of 2023. And what we've graphed here is the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. So you'll see this white line from left to right, and the gray bars are recessions. And then what we've charted is the peak of the mortgage interest rate in the recession or right before the recession to the trough. And you'll see that in 1975, mortgage rates topped out at 10 and ended the recession around 9. You can see that in 1981, there was a reduction from 16% to 11.75. In 1982, mortgage rates dropped from 18% to 13%. In 1991, mortgage rates dropped from 11% to 8.75%. In 2003, mortgage rates dropped from 7.375 to 6.75. 2009 dropped from 6 to 4.875. And then in the COVID recession, 2021, from 3.75 to 2.75. So what's the point? The point is that where we sit right now in this economic cycle, we are very likely headed into a recession. We've triggered what's called the Psalm rule. And when you increase the unemployment rate by at least 0.5% from the market bottom, that indicates or triggers the Psalm rule. And it's a 100% predictor of recessions going back to the 1960s. It says that you're either in a recession or about to go in a recession because the unemployment numbers are bottoming from the business cycle. Unemployment numbers are moving higher. So what does that tell us about the housing market? Well, it tells us that mortgage rates are about to go down. If we're entering into an economic recession, mortgage rates go down. But here's the underlying fact that almost nobody knows. This was a data point that came out of Black Knight, which is a data aggregator for real estate information and probably all types of other industries, but I know them for the real estate industry data that they do. And they said that for every 1% that a mortgage rate goes down, there are 5 million more Americans that qualify for home ownership. Now, that does not mean that there's 5 million people who are going to buy a home. It just means that they qualify. But what we know is that the millennial cohort is reaching that first-time home buyer age in that 33 to 36-year-old age. So we have this huge cohort of millennials who've been on the sidelines renting. Mortgage rates go down, housing affordability goes up, and for every 1% mortgage rates go down, you have 5 million more Americans who can qualify. So let's look back over these recessions and try to put these pieces together. You'll see that in 1975, the drop in interest rate gave us 5 million more qualified. When we have a huge drop like we did in 1981, 16 to 11.75, 21 million more people qualified, and so on and so forth. You can see that for each recession, more people qualify for home ownership. Well, if that's true, then wouldn't you expect home values to do well during those recessions? I mean, if there's more demand, builders can't respond overnight. You can see that these interest rates drop quite precipitously. Builders can't put a new home in the ground in 6 months. It takes time. You know, they've got to buy the land and they've got to get entitled and through the municipality and then to build the house and all those things. You know, you're 24 months on most projects from start to finish once you buy the land and get everything finished. So if you have more demand and you have constrained supply, wouldn't we expect home values to go up? Well, let's take a look. The next slide comes right from the U.S. Federal Housing Finance Agency, and it shows home values going back to 1980 throughout each of these recessionary periods. You'll notice in 1980, home values went up. 1982, home values go up. 1990, home values go up. Now, this would be 2001, home values go up. The Great Recession was the clear outlier here where home values went down. And then we know what happened in 2020. Home values went way up. Again, why is that? Why is it that 5 out of the 6 last recessions, housing values have gone up? Well, it's what we just talked about. The reality is that the amount of supply of homes is constrained. I'm going to show you one more slide to show you how constrained compared to the Great Recession. And as interest rates go down, housing affordability goes up and you have more demand for housing. Now, let's compare where are we in the market cycle today versus 2008? And could we have another one of these outlier recessions ahead of us where home prices go down? Well, let's look at where we are in terms of the supply of homes on the market. This is the existing home inventory in the entire country going nationwide, going back to 2003. And you can see more or less, if you were to kind of draw a line through the middle of this, I would say that the average amount of inventory in the country going back over that 21-year period is about 2 million homes on the market. When we saw the Great Recession, leading up to the Great Recession, we saw a huge increase in the volume of homes listed for sale, existing home inventory. You went from 2 million to 4 million. So we were way oversupply here. And by the way, guess who was buying homes at this time? Yeah, that was your Gen Xers. That's my generation. And there was a huge demographic fall off between baby boomers, big demographic cohort, a fall off in Gen Xers, which was my cohort, way less buyers right when the supply of home was going crazy. Builders built more homes than ever before, and the supply got crazy out of hand. But now you've got a huge demographic cohort in the millennials that are buying up these homes. And look where we are in inventory. We're not as low as we were in 2022 and 2023 when there was very, very low, historically low inventory. But we only have 1.3 million homes for sale in the entire country compared to over 4 million homes for sale in the Great Recession. So my point with this is, I'll try to bring this home. We're likely headed into a recession. Mortgage rates will drop precipitously like they always do. That will increase housing affordability, bring buyers off the sidelines, more demand for housing, and you have an extremely constrained supply of homes. So ask yourself, what do you think is going to happen to your local market when interest rates hit 5.5%? It's going to go bonkers. It's going to be a raging seller's market again. And that's why I believe the best time to enter the housing market is now. You've got a little more inventory than we did the last couple of years. Sellers are seeing their listings sit a little bit longer. There's less multiple offers. You can get concessions to cover your closing costs, concessions to buy down mortgage interest rates. You can negotiate the price. You can negotiate the terms. When interest rates go back to 5.5% and it's a raging seller's market and there's multiple offers on every home, you won't have that same benefit. Hey, I hope this was helpful and interesting. And whether you agree or don't agree, comment below. I'd love to see what you think about this information and how you're approaching the housing market.